you do not have a midlife crisis just because there is a disruption coming your way. You will have a midlife crisis or mid-career crisis because either you are bored or you want to reinvent yourself and you want to do something else in your life. And we're going to discuss and debate those things. And feel free, in between, you have a point to add or you have a question, because we do have a question-answer session in the end, but we are happy to involve you in this discussion. So on my right, we have Soeb. Soeb, if you can do a quick introduction to everyone who you are.
Hi, thank you. Yes, it's been fascinating to be here from the midlife crisis. And the temptation to say midlife and not mid-work is very strong. It just keeps slipping in. I've been fortunate that the boredom, as you rightly said, has worked well. It came out after 18 years of being an entrepreneur myself. Started as an entrepreneur. Wouldn't recommend that as a good way to start, but that's how it happened. And was fortunate to be involved in, from the restlessness perspective, to work with a large company, and was fortunate to merge my business. So that was an interesting journey. That large business happens to be a famous software product company called Tally Solutions. Most people know about it. And happened to embrace the opportunity there. And I'm here today in a capacity to speak and guide people about what it takes to deal with their career, and more importantly, what it takes to deal with a satisfying life is thanks to that journey. So happy to take this discussion forward. And the reason why I started Catalyst Skill Networks is because with that fundamental desire that there's a lot which we can probably share about skill development and learn from each other and actually solve many challenges in front of us in this very disruptive era. So that's my background, and very delighted to be here.
Round of applause for sure. I'm going to ask my newfound neighbor, Koya, to introduce himself.
I'm probably the only odd man out in this group, because I'm the only one, I guess, who is in the minority here today, which is not from the IT industry.
No man, you're my neighbor, you're in majority.
What I bring onto the table here is perhaps that I have been, until I met Shoaib, I didn't know this, but probably I'm the one who's been working pre-liberalization and post-liberalization in the 90s. The pre-IT boom and the post-IT boom. So I have lived across these changes in my professional career. So maybe whatever perspective that comes from an angle, and therefore not being from the IT industry, how to make the IT industry people comfortable about giving a new spin to this midlife or mid-career crisis. So I'll take on that path a little later.
Can we introduce James? Obviously, James, take your time to introduce yourself, because I think whatever you're going to share is going to be very relevant. Anyone who's looking to change his career typically land up in front of James. So he's going to share with what background is, and then we'll rotate the questions.
Thanks, Ajay. I'm John here.
Oh, sorry. I'm really sorry.
I'm also from the industrial and manufacturing sector. I've also gone through the same mid-career crisis. So sometimes what happens, not out of choice but out of chance, you end up in the right position or right role what you are looking at. There's a saying, right, during war times it's always good to be with the UN. Yeah. So that is what happened in me. And ever since then there's no looking back. I found my place. And it's the last 2 decades almost. So I've been on the other side of the table trying to address. We get various calls, various reasons across the strata of people, the leadership, or across the sectors. So very happy to be part of it, to share some of the experiences, and maybe it will be of use to everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So next one, not the last, Sam. Sam, I saw interestingly, his profile says, Senior Director Operations of a leading e-commerce company. By the way, that's Flipkart. So Sam, about introducing yourself to everyone.
So thanks for that, Rajiv. So good morning, folks. Thanks for joining us here. Just a very brief introduction about myself. an engineer MBA by qualification. Been a professional along close to about 2 decades now. And the reason I'm here, I think Safir thought that I think I've spent about close to 13 years with GE. And I think I generally got bored with life. And I think came pretty dangerously close to actually getting into a midlife crisis. And you realize you can actually sleepwalk through your role. And what I mean by that is you call anybody, wake a person in the middle of the night and actually ask them a question. The person gives you an exactly right answer. That's when you know you're actually sleepwalking through your role, as an example, right? So having spent about close to 13 years with GE and then decided to kind of take a small break, that's when I kind of took a stab at trying to join Flipkart, which today happens to be the leading e-commerce company in the country. And hoping to find some meaning in my life as I try and map out what I want to do, what the organization is trying to do, and how we could fundamentally transform e-commerce in India. So happy to share a couple of my learnings as well out here. And glad to be part of this conversation.
So thanks a lot. I'm beginning to realize that we are dangerously getting close to something which is not the topic of discussion. It's not a midlife crisis. So please don't bring in your midlife issues here and say, tell me what I do and how I get along with my wife. My kids don't respect. No, it's mid-career crisis we're going to deal with. So what happened was, the good thing I'll share with you that as a team we discussed for an hour how we're going to share our personal journeys. And Koya brought a very interesting point. He said, look, not everyone leaves their company because the company is going to get disrupted or they get a pink slip. People also leave companies because they have something else to do. And I remember somebody asked that, how do I connect my passion, vision, and then bring it out? So let me just bring it to you and ask you these questions because a lot of time I started with disruption and digital disruption. I think you had a very different perspective. And what was it? Because not necessarily you want to change your career because you're looking at the looming disruption staring at you. But there are many other reasons.
What I want to tell the IT people is that this happens to everyone, or it can happen to anyone. So this is not restricted to an industry, or this mid-career crisis is not something which happens in the IT industry or this highly stressed industry. Excuse me. It can also happen to people who have fulfilling jobs. Now, there is a theory which goes that as one progresses in one's career and towards the mid of their career, the job satisfaction deteriorates significantly. Now, this study also goes on to draw a parallel with life, and it says if you are doing an age analysis of people, towards the middle of their life expectations are also going down, their unhappiness levels are increasing. So if you combine both these studies and then come up with this theory on why this is happening, why this midlife crisis is happening, it's happening not just among professionals, it's also happening across the spectrum, it's happening across countries, it's happening across cultures and socioeconomic brackets as well. So the theory goes on to say that there is a rainbow at the end of this. There's light at the end of the tunnel because they call it the U-curve theory. The U-curve theory says you bottom out at mid-career, then your expectations start meeting the reality, and then your happiness quotient increases. So also your career, you're satisfied with what is happening in your career. Now, just to, I guess I've just explained what is the interpretation of this. The interpretation of this is that when you're young, you're optimistic, you are driven, you have very high goals, you genuinely believe that you can beat the average. So there's this pumping in, which is also this biological, wherein your mind is accepting these challenges and then you're going forward and high. You hit mid-career, there's a huge gap between your expectations and reality. There's an aspirational gap. You're becoming maybe disillusioned with a lot of other things. This is when it bottoms out. And as I said, the U-curve says that you have the possibility of coming out of this on your own. Therefore, without any intervention, there is a possibility that all of us will go through the midlife crisis and then come out of it successfully. The learning, as far as these are political studies, is that one, we are all aware that this is not us alone. There are many around. This is a large phenomena, mid-career crisis. Two, having known that this is common, there's no stigma to it, and therefore one can face it with, whatever way we can face it. Three is that we all know where our strengths, weaknesses are, and where we can excel and where we can't excel. And the reality hits you towards your mid-career, and therefore you can make better choices then. So in the end, if either of these don't work, at least believe in the U-curve and think that, this shall also pass. So that would be my first take. I'll come back on the next stage on how skills impact and how one probably also has like a product life cycle, a skill life cycle, and a personal life cycle.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. We'll bring it back. So thanks, Koya. So I'll give you one more statistics, and John and not James, I'm going to come back to you. And I'll give a bit of introduction. Why? So how many of you have heard of an organization called World Economic Forum? Those of you not, our Prime Minister recently went there and did a keynote speech. And this is what they're saying. They're talking about something called Fourth Industrial Revolution, 4.0. And as a part of Fourth Industrial Revolution, they are talking about is that everything you practically are doing today, there is a likelihood that someone is working in automating that. So they may not be required. In fact, there is a discussion going on that if everything will get automated and the robots will be doing most of our job, what will a human being do and how will they earn? And they are talking about a basic minimum wage for everyone should be given, because you may not have a job, nobody would like to hire you, and there are better robots who can do this effectively. And there are symptoms of the organization. And I'm going to ask you, John, this question, because John's background is obviously having worked in ABC. A lot of people who wanted to change their career, or people who were given the pink slip, they went to John and shared a lot of their perspective. My question to you is, when I have to look at the symptom, whether I'm going to get fired or whether my job is at risk, what are the things people come and share it with you, and what do you look for, including something we spoke about, the organizational, health and other things. And Sam, then I'll come to you, have a different perspective on that. Please go ahead.
Yeah, when people want to look for a change, there are two aspects to it. One is either the push factors or the pull factors. We're not going to talk much on the pull factors. Pull factors happens mostly to the passive job seekers. Yeah. Whereas on the push factors, if you look at, one of the dominating characteristics is the relationship with your superiors is not great. That is something, whether the new bosses come or because of some mergers and acquisitions, there is a disruption in the reporting structure. So 90% of the job change, people see that some favoritism happens, or there is a disparity in the system, which because it touches your deep down value system of your self-respect, or which disturbs you. And that is when people really look out. Across levels, it's not only at the mid-management, but even at the leadership levels, I get to see this. And they openly confine to me, saying that this is what it is, I'm looking for a change. And second reason would be the financial health of the organization. Suddenly you see that things are not working out, the hiring freeze happens, cost cutting is happening across the levels. And third is, suddenly you see that some of the key responsibilities are withdrawn from you. Then it really starts jittery. Why is it happening? And for no reasons. And over a period of time, what happens? The years of experience alone, if it doesn't evolve into the next role, then suddenly the management feels that the same job can be got done at 1/3 of the cost, that you become redundant in the system. So that is when either reskilling or the upskilling has to happen, which a lot of people lose out on. So at a later stage, they come back to us and say that these are some of the key things which drives them to look outside, the symptoms that they get into that. They're not being called for the discussions, important discussions. Parallel hiring happens, and asking them to be reporting into one not junior to them. So So, and the last one is like, absolutely no work is given at all. That's the worst thing to happen. Every day you have to come in and...
You're assigned to special project.
Yeah, that's right. And you become very invisible in the organization. It doesn't matter at all. You become insignificant in the entire system. So, automatically you get the feelers.
You managers stop liking your face also.
So,
thanks, John. So, Sam, let me come back to you. Obviously, John highlighted a point. Continue to look for the health of an organization. And not everyone is efficient in looking at balance sheet, but just see where the organization is heading. And I think one of the discussions we were having about General Motors, and he says, it was telling, everyone knew that something was going to happen because every launch they did, never successful. And then suddenly we asked Sam, he says, so what about startup? And Sam works for Flipkart, and he said, look, the balance sheet of Flipkart may not look great, but we have funding for next couple of years to pay its salary. But by design, if you look at their balance sheet and other things, then there is something goes on, is that is it going to survive? So is there a symptom someone needs to look at when someone is working for a startup?
And let me put two organizations in context here. One is the previous organization, which is almost about 150 plus years old, a very, very stable organization, and it's almost 160 years. And then let's look at the current organization, it's Flipkart, and the age is almost equivalent to that of my son right now. My eldest son is about close to 9.5 years right now. Flipkart's about 10 years old, and I've been part of this journey for about 3.5 years right now. So, and I compare if I try and draw some inferences from, I think, humans, right? For instance, there are some success criteria that I have for my child today, a 10-year-old child. And if I were to equate, let's say, an organization like GE to a very, very mature adult, which operates in fairly mature markets, right, which is predominantly Mr. Heady and stuff like that, I think the expectations from these organizations are very, very, very different. And one is purely, I think, the age profile of the whole thing, right? Now, I'm not sure how many of you managed to read a small snippet that came just 2 days back about how Flipkart expanded its losses to about 8,000 crores. Did anybody get to see that news recently?
Yes.
Right, yeah. Now, I was just doing a simple math. We're almost about close to 8,000 regular employees and about close to 20,000+ contract staff. Now, if I just take the regular employees, right, that's about, it seems that every person is actually burning a hole of almost about 1 crore every year. For instance, way back, I think just about 3-4 years back, they were actually going after doing fair bit of cost optimization to the tune of about $2 billion worldwide. That's the amount of focus that was actually there in cost optimization. So you have this equation in terms of sales and then the expenses and the profitability, eventually related to return on investment for all the partners and the investors. Now compare that with an organization like Flipkart, 10 years, 0 profits till now, right? And look at the organization like GE, I think consistently delivering on investor expectations year on year. Of course, there will be a few blips here and there. And given the industry attractiveness of an e-commerce organization like Flipkart, wherein we seem to be growing almost about close to 50% year on year. And now the numbers become debatable because these are largely, I think, internally reported numbers. Now, financials per se, I guess, will not necessarily lead one to a conclusion around am I or am I not likely to be better off in organization A versus organization B. Right? The answers possibly lie elsewhere. And like purely in my own case, right, I think it is largely to do with less of financials, more in terms of the outlook for the future, in terms of is this the industry vertical that I'm willing to bet on, right? Versus, let's say, am I willing to bet on a stable industry, let's say like power generation, oil and gas and stuff like that. So long story short, I think financials are important, but I guess their importance is limited to the context in which the organization is actually operating in. Like gave the examples of GE and then kind of Flipkart. And at some bit of a leap of faith and some bit of an also alignment in terms of a person's own value system to the value system of the organization. And the reason I actually brought up values is because this question did come up in the previous session as well, wherein they spoke about the importance of the values. And if I were to just take the liberty of acting like a salesman for Flipkart right now, and if you pardon me for that, we talk about the ABCs of the values, which is audacity, which talks about then there is bias for action, and then there is a customer centricity. Personally, for me, there has been a fair bit of a need for speed within my own self. So I find a fair bit of a balance there. And as we talk about I did introduce myself as a person who's actually going through possibly a career crisis and stuff like that, right? and with a 150-year-old organization, 100 countries, 300,000 people and stuff like that, and the country going at approximately 2% growth rate, right? And it actually meant only that much amount of an upside to one's career. So it actually meant taking an extremely harsh call on myself, right? And ignoring the financials for that matter, right? The MBA in me tells me, okay, let's go join a profitable company and stuff like that. But then, that's where I am right now. So yeah, that's my limited take on this particular question.
And we'll come back to you. So guys, first I'm not checking my WhatsApp messages. I've written questions, so I'm trying to check them and see whom to direct. Let me just come back to you, Shoaib. So interestingly, Shoaib started his business right out of college. What was the need? Did you go through any kind of a mid-career crisis? And now obviously you've started something different in the skill level. Why? And do you see any sign? Is it something you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah. I think from a journey perspective, couple of important points. First, and the most important one was before I started my business, from a qualification, I'm a Bachelor of Arts and who specialized in studying law. And I, just to take from what was being said, look, I don't believe that I'm a technologist, but I've been in the technology business. And I think a lot of us confuse these pieces. And I think that's the first thing to get out of the way. And then examine that over a period of 30 years, you've actually dealt and learned many things. From this, and when I speak to now kids in college, the most important piece of advice is, I had no clue that when I was doing my final year at law college that I'm going to be in the technology business. And I don't have a clue what's going to happen over the next 20 years of what kinds of businesses I need to be involved in. But what I've been able to experience is the fact that I have an ability to say I don't know. And I have a desire to learn, and that's the key piece which I think has helped me through, and I think that's a very, very important element for all of us. Easier said than done, because we put through schools, we get into a position that we are supposed to know, and we are respected, especially in our jobs, for being experts. A bit of a challenge, and it's counterintuitive in my view. Okay? So that's piece number one. Piece number two is, associated with this is a strong sense of communication, and I think one of the biggest challenges that we face as a culture is our inability to connect as human beings in many situations. And this connect comes from, in my view, being open and being vulnerable, and it goes back to the previous statement that if I don't know, I don't know, and I'm willing to learn. And which brings the third piece, that look, do I know how to listen? Unfortunately, listening is not taught. And I'm sure as the audience is sitting in here, is finding it hard to keep track and listen to all what different people are saying. Because their thoughts are coming in their way. Skills like these are soft skills. We get confused by saying, hey, can I search for some meaning and a purpose in life? Can I do something which I believe in, and can I get passionate? My view is, hey, whatever you're doing, do it with a passion. Do it with engagement. Do it with commitment. These are values. These are coming across whichever company you work for. Do it with, and that's the difference that you need to be able to, and it's for yourself, because you owe it to yourself. And the last and not the least, taking from what Koya was mentioning, and I have a view on this, I'm not going to go into depth of it for paucity of time, but happiness is again a subject which is not understood. We promise our customers happiness and have no clue what it means. Again, a subject which has to be understood, complex subject, not easy to grapple with, has many elements. And in my view, these are the skills which are now, coming to your question, what is it that I'm doing? Understanding the challenges which we face understanding to take that look, the ability to measure is not about growth, it's about being able to deliver value, to be able to be satisfied in a day's work, hard to do. So therefore, we measure GDP, we don't measure happiness, we don't measure well-being, we measure top line, we don't measure any of the other pieces. And these are the differences that we as leaders, we as individuals here need to start doing, not just in our offices, but also in our day-to-day lives. So that's my take on this entire.
Thanks. By the way, there is a country, Bhutan, they measure their gross happiness product instead of this gross domestic product. I'm going to bring one round quickly and then we'll open up for question and answer. And this is about, it was interestingly brought by Boaz that look, whatever crisis you talk about, it happens because as every product becomes obsolete, the skill also becomes obsolete. So, Boaz, you talked about something called product life cycle management and how do we apply it to our own career. Would you like to share some more details?
Yes. Many of you may be aware of the product life cycle where it's on the y-axis. Of course, you have sales, and then there's a time frame on the x-axis. So on a time frame, how a product starts and how it sells. So we know products start low, then it gains prominence, and then over a period of time it becomes a commodity and then comes down. If you were to substitute product and put skills into it, and on the y-axis add value that we are creating, we can also map ourselves. We all thought the Samsung phone had hit a nice spot with its 30,000 rupee smartphones, till it got disrupted by these Oppos and the other ones which are offering similar phones at different price points. Now, if that was a skill and you were to upgrade it, there's only a certain level to which you could have upgraded this. A smartphone has also reached a sort of maturity level. Now, this is what we have to understand, because within a product life cycle, Samsung obviously has to look at new innovations, look at probably new business model innovations to get out of this situation that it is. Of course we can. We can also do a time graph and say where we stand in terms of the value that we are creating to the cost that we are at, because naturally there will be a younger person with the same skill sets available who's probably more driven, more efficient, and then you who probably is reaching a mid-career crisis. So it's important first to understand where we are in this product or skill life cycle to evaluate ourselves. Just on a point on this is that always skills are not technical alone. As I said, for Samsung it is not just adding new features and making the smartphone smarter, that's one of it, yes. But there's also much more to it than that. And therefore, similarly, skills need not be as technical, A plus, B plus, C plus, whatever that we keep on adding to our. Of course, that's important. But there could also be additional skills in terms of the other aspects of business life that we can master in and then add it as a value, but as a professional, your professional skill set stand. So probably that would be a way of identifying where you stand within yourself. That's what the point I was trying to make.
Thanks. What, compare G and compare Flipkart, what are the warning signs you would see in someone, or if you put yourself, which will look like a mid-career crisis and say, maybe you need to reinvent yourself?
Around across research across multiple countries, they've identified a couple of user scenarios that qualify as indicators of mid-career crisis. Now, a couple of them are actually a little hilarious as well. It talks about people constantly comparing their looks with one another. People worrying about a younger person taking over your role. It also talks about you worrying about your friend's success. And they suddenly seem to be wanting to kind of change the world all over again, right? There have been scenarios around people also wanting to have a very, very simple life and getting a real practical about it. Yeah. So there's a long list that you folks can also kind of go through all of it, but getting it back to the organization, right? So in terms, if you try and draw a parallel between, let's say, an extremely mature organization to the environment that at least I've been a part of, and I'm not sure how many of you are actually part of the startup ecosystem. For instance, one firm belief that we had in the current organization is in terms of a person's career is not necessarily subject to a zero-sum game. What it meant that is in terms of my career progression doesn't necessarily have to come at the expense of my colleague or my peer and stuff like that, right? So that is one constant out there. And even the kind of people whom we have been hiring within the organization, for instance, I'm not sure if you would be amused if I make a statement that 87% of our organization comprises of the so-called millennials. And there are those conventional stereotypes of what a millennial actually expects out of life and stuff like that, right? And compare that with an organization, let's say a stable organization like GE, the dynamics kind of change very drastically out there. So for us, I think it's been a combination of extremely ambitious people, from the brightest of the people from across. For instance, we've had conversion rates of, I think, less than 0.5% for people who actually apply to the organization. That's not that's not kind of practices in the back and feel proud of it and stuff like that. But I guess it's a combination, I think, of the growth rates and I think the kind of hype that I think the media has also generated. And it's only coincidental that I think we also end up being, I think, in the top 2-3 kind of firms in the country by LinkedIn in terms of people actually want to go to a job. So I think there's a strange ecosystem that will actually work in the organization's favor in terms of you try to attract the best, you try to attract fairly ambitious people. And I think the fact that the organization also grows at a really, really astonishing pace creates that many number of opportunities for people to kind of fulfill their aspirations, right? And when we look back at them, we kind of also try and analyze if people are leaving for a different startup or are they actually going back to their steady state environment, right? And at times I wonder if I'm going to be looking at my next job, will it be a startup or will it be a stable organization? Right? And I think in all honesty, I seem to be leaning towards a stabler organization. Right? So it varies by regions, I think, yeah, because as well. In terms of, I think, what is my definition of satisfaction. Right? So our work at it spoke about the U curve. I think it's a very well-researched article as part of the HBR and stuff like that. And to the extent I think I'm at peace with that, I think I'd like to make a scandalous statement. I think what the organization possibly offer to you might probably become meaningless and irrelevant after a point in time because the answers lies within you. And I think to the extent you're actually able to find peace with that and peace with what you want to do versus what you're actually doing, I think it's going to be a win-win for everybody. I think that's my take on this one.
Profound, man. People have already reserved you for separate discussion. Okay, I'm going to come back to you, Shwet. I have a specific questions, but I want to share one stat with you guys. There is something called working age population, which is defined by World Economic Forum, which is 15 to 55 years of the age. Actually, they call it working age population. India has 65% of its population which falls into working age. Of that 65%, 50% are millennials. These are the people which are 25 and below. So those of you who are in 30s, 40s, prepare yourself because there are skill sets needed and these guys or these girls come prepared for those skill sets. And these are newer generation skill sets that are coming in. I was just sharing yesterday when we were chatting is that 20 years back, if you have graduated in maths, I was thinking of doing that, the only option you would have had probably become a maths teacher. Today, I can tell you any big data quant analyst or maths graduate and they draw a lot of salary. So there is a product life cycle, that skill life cycle, keep an eye on that because everything that's getting automated is asking for new skills. On one side, skills are getting obsolete, the new skills are coming in.
And in my view, that attitude is the key. And when they say attitude, it leaves it a little open, but I'm saying in a more specific term, to be able to embrace complexity. To be able to say, hey, I don't have an answer, but I'm going to slog my backside out to solve this problem. Without necessarily saying, hey, will I get my recognition immediately? For the sheer opportunity that you have in front of you. And in my view, the organizations which are growing, which don't have standards, sets, and even if they do have a so-called seemingly steady state.
Thank you. While I was listening to Shoaib, I suddenly saw my picture. I'll have to definitely change my picture on Facebook. I'm a runner, so that's my running picture somewhere in Spiti Valley. So probably put a more decent picture there. So I'm going to come to you, John, and bring it home for all of us. But I want to share something with you. So as a part of our organization, Growth Enabler, we work with large corporate.
And we recently interviewed and spoke to around 80 top CXOs. These were Chief Information, Chief Digital, Chief Strategy Officer of FTSE 100 companies, London-based companies. And we were asking them how your job looks like in the next 3 years. And everyone said that with digital transformation, with automation, and they were different industries. They were from financial services, logistics, retail, and all that. He says, I'm not sure whether I'll be relevant for this organization. So it's coming everyone's way, and it's people are beginning to see that, whether it's because of the health of the organization or somebody else building a better, cheaper model or trying to do a same way. But there is a reason why this topic exists. So, John, before we come to you, obviously, once we have, obviously somebody has asked us to leave or we decided to leave because we don't fit in. Just advice for everyone. What are the things I should have looked at before that incident happened, actually 6 to 8 months before, so that I know either I'm behaving this way or organization is behaving this way with me. Especially because a lot of time people see organization is behaving this way. Well, what could I have done differently before this mid-career crisis hit me? Or how would I prepare myself?
Yeah, so the feelers are very strong because we all been blessed with certain sense of intuition within us. The moment things are not going right, the vibrations, we get that. Most of the time what happens is we overlook. We always tend to be more positive in those situations, No, nothing will happen like that. I'm not saying that we should have a pessimistic approach to it, but we should have a very pragmatic thought process to it. As a first step, yes, we should start doing a SWOT analysis for our own self. Where are we? Where's this organization? It's not about unlearning and relearning. Today's context is upskilling to fit into the current environment. The way the digitization happening, the artificial intelligence coming and taking away everything, every sector, including our own recruitment industry. The LinkedIn really disrupts everything. Today, it doesn't matter at all, to find someone or any professional out in the globe, it's easier. Every company has their own hiring teams to find the person. So what happens to us? So we have to define our own USP, a kind of indispensability of my presence there in the organization. If I can get that thing done, I guess I don't see that these challenges could be overcome very easily.
Okay, thank you.